Millionaire Habits 10 Daily Practices of the World's Wealthiest People, written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. Jim Rohn. What if the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't as wide as you think? Not in terms of talent, not in terms of opportunity, and not even in terms of money. What if the real gap is found in your daily habits? That's the truth the world's wealthiest individuals have quietly mastered. Not the ones who inherited fortunes, but the ones who built them. Entrepreneurs, leaders, self-made millionaires. Behind their resumes and headlines, you'll find something surprisingly ordinary, a set of daily practices that drive extraordinary results. No, this book isn't about waking up at 4 a.m. just to feel productive. And it's not about chasing unrealistic routines from social media influencers who only show you the highlight reel. This is about the real work, the repeatable, grounded, proven habits that millionaires live by. The things they do consistently, even when no one is watching, especially then. The goal here is not to copy someone else's life. It's to build your own, on a foundation of habits that actually work, habits that sharpen your focus, fuel your energy, and align your actions with your vision. Because becoming a millionaire isn't about luck or genius, it's about how you show up today, and tomorrow, and every day after. Inside these pages, you'll discover 10 daily habits that high performers rely on, regardless of industry, background, or personality. You'll learn how they think, how they operate, and how they stay on track while others get lost in the noise. More importantly, you'll learn how to adopt these habits into your own life, no matter where you're starting from. This book is your guide, a blueprint for building wealth from the inside out, not just financially, but mentally, physically, and emotionally. Because true wealth isn't just what you have, it's who you become. Let's begin a new kind of success story for yours. Wanda C. Chapter 1. The Myth of Millionaire Magic. At 17, Marcus sold his first app to a tech company for $250,000. The story made headlines. A teenager becomes a millionaire overnight. The public ate it up. Overnight success, born genius. Right place, right time. But what the headlines didn't say. Marcus had been waking up at 5 a.m. every day since he was 13. He'd coded in the basement while his friends played video games. He kept journals, tracked goals, read business books, and spent hundreds of hours testing, failing, and refining. What looked like luck was actually years of habit, compounding quietly in the background. We love the idea of sudden wealth. It feeds something in us, the craving for shortcuts, the fantasy of skipping the struggle. But that fantasy is costing us more than we realize, because while we chase the next hack, the next lucky break, those who actually become wealthy are quietly living a very different kind of life. Their secret isn't magic. It's structure, routine, discipline. The kind of things that sound too simple to matter, but end up making all the difference. The real tragedy isn't that people don't become millionaires. It's that they never learn to think like one. They buy into myths, that wealth is for the lucky, the gifted, the connected. They don't see that behind almost every self-made millionaire is a stack of small, repeatable habits done daily. These habits don't make headlines. No one's going viral for journaling or reviewing their financial spreadsheet, but that's exactly why they work. The world is distracted. The wealthy are focused. The world wants excitement. The wealthy chase alignment. The world trades time for money. The wealthy trade habits for freedom. This book is not a list of millionaire trivia. It's a blueprint. Inside these pages, you'll find 10 daily habits that show up again and again in the lives of high net worth individuals. Not theories, not wishful thinking. Real patterns, some you've heard of. Others will surprise you, but all of them are actionable. Simple, not always easy, but always within reach. These aren't the habits of the already rich. These are the habits that make people rich. What you do every day is who you become. If you want to build wealth, not just money, but time, freedom, mental clarity, and lasting impact, it starts with the day you're living right now. These habits are about much more than dollars in the bank. They're about the kind of person you become in the process. Disciplined, focused, generous, resilient. The habits that build wealth also build character. They make you someone who doesn't just have money, but knows how to handle it, grow it, and use it to make life better for others. Here's the best part: you don't need to overhaul your life, you just need to start. One small habit, one small shift. Then another. Then another. That's how transformation happens. Not in big declarations, but in tiny daily decisions. This book isn't about perfection, it's about momentum. And that momentum begins right here. So forget the myth. Forget the lottery ticket version of success. If you want to live differently, start by living your day differently. The habits inside this book won't just change your routine, they'll change your trajectory. You're about to step into a new level of intention, a new way of thinking, a new way of building wealth, not overnight, but over time. Millionaire habits aren't flashy, they're consistent. Wealth is more about structure than genius or luck. Daily decisions determine long-term destiny. Which habits do you believe have quietly shaped your current financial reality? Take 5 minutes to define what wealth truly means to you, not just in dollars, but in lifestyle and values. Chapter 2. They guard their attention. In 2007, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates were at a dinner hosted by Gates's parents. The host asked each guest to write down one word they believed led to their success. They didn't see each other's answers. When they flipped their cards, both had written the same word: focus. Not intelligence. Not ambition. Focus. It was a revealing moment, not because two billionaires agreed on something, but because they revealed what so few people truly understand. In a world addicted to noise, the rarest and most profitable asset is attention. Most people don't lose their potential all at once. They bleed it out in tiny drops, every scroll, every ping, every glance at a screen that pulls them away from what really matters. Distraction is no longer a nuisance. It's a business model. Apps, ads, alerts. They're all engineered to steal your time and sell your attention, and most people never even realize it's happening. But millionaires do. They don't treat their attention like an open buffet. They treat it like a bank vault. Because they understand that attention is where decisions are made, ideas are born, and futures are shaped. Guarding your attention doesn't mean living in silence or becoming a hermit. It means being ruthless about what enters your mental space. It means turning off notifications, not as a productivity hack, but as an act of self-respect. It means choosing what you consume instead of letting algorithms decide. It means designing your environment to support deep work, not shallow browsing. Millionaires don't wait for focus to happen, they engineer it. You don't have to be a billionaire to apply this. You just need to start noticing. Where does your focus go during the day? How often do you reach for your phone without thinking? What apps eat your time but leave you feeling empty? The goal isn't guilt, it's awareness. Because once you see how much of your attention is leaking, you can start patching the holes, one decision at a time. Small changes make a big difference. Turn your phone on grayscale. It instantly makes apps less addictive. Use website blockers during work sessions. Schedule time for deep, uninterrupted focus, even if it's just 30 minutes. Communicate boundaries. Let people know when you're in focus mode. And most importantly, build a ritual around attention. Maybe it's 5 minutes of silence before work. Maybe it's putting your phone in another room during dinner. The habit is more important than the size of the change. When you start guarding your attention, everything else gets easier. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your energy stabilizes. You start finishing things instead of juggling them. You stop reacting and start responding. You realize you were capable of more all along, you were just too distracted to see it. That's what millionaires know. They don't just protect their calendars. They protect their concentration. You don't need superpowers to do this. It's just decisions. Just awareness. Just the willingness to be intentional in a world that rewards impulsiveness. Millionaires don't have more time than you. They have more control over what they do with it. The next chapter you write in your life will be determined by what you focus on today. So stop asking how to get more done. Start asking how to be less distracted. Success doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing what matters, deeply and consistently. That starts with what you give your attention to. Attention is the gatekeeper of productivity and clarity. Millionaires design environments that support focus. Guarding attention is an act of self-respect, not restriction. What are the biggest daily distractions you've allowed to control your time, and how can you reduce them starting today? Turn off all non-essential notifications on your phone for the next 24 hours. Track how it impacts your focus. Chapter 3. They practice strategic thinking. It wasn't luck that took Oprah Winfrey from a childhood of poverty to becoming one of the wealthiest self-made women in the world. It wasn't just talent either. One of her most overlooked habits is something she calls sacred thinking time. Every morning she carves out space before emails, calls, meetings to think, not scroll, not react. Think about her goals, about the direction of her businesses, about the people in her life. In a culture obsessed with doing, Oprah built her empire by mastering the art of strategic pause. Most people stay busy. They move fast, check boxes, hustle harder, but without clarity, hustle becomes noise. Millionaires move differently. They build in margin, not because they have time to waste, but because they know reflection sharpens execution. A few quiet moments can save weeks of backtracking. The habit of strategic thinking isn't a luxury, it's a discipline, and it separates those who chase opportunities from those who create them. Thinking isn't the same as worrying. Strategic thinking is deliberate. It's proactive. It's structured. It might look like journaling for 10 minutes in the morning. It might be reviewing a challenge and asking, what am I not seeing? It might be visualizing the week ahead or reviewing the past one. The point is not just to think more, it's to think better. Millionaires create space to ask the questions most people avoid. Is this still working? What's the actual goal here? What's one bold move I'm not making? You don't need a mountaintop or a meditation retreat to start. You need a notebook, a timer, and a willingness to stop reacting long enough to see clearly. Try starting with 5 minutes a day. Write down a decision you've been avoiding. Map out a goal. Identify one bottleneck in your life or work. Ask yourself, what's the real problem here? And what would the future me wish I'd done sooner? You'll be surprised how often your brain already has the answer if you'd only give it the room to speak. Strategic thinking is a competitive advantage because so few people do it. Everyone's busy. Everyone's reacting. Everyone's looking for the next to do. But the person who steps back and sees the bigger picture gains leverage. While others are climbing ladders, you're checking to make sure it's leaning against the right wall. It's not about overthinking, it's about orienting. Millionaires don't always make the right move, but they rarely make the same mistake twice. Why? Because they stop to reflect, course correct, and plan. This habit compounds. The more you practice it, the clearer your decisions become. You begin to trust your instincts more, because you've tested them. You don't chase distractions, because you know what matters. You don't fear uncertainty, because you've built a system for navigating it. Over time, this clarity becomes a superpower. Others move fast. You move right. The world rewards action. But the world changes for those who think before they move. Millionaires don't think instead of acting, they think before they act. It's a small shift that creates massive results, and the best part? It's available to you right now. Strategic thinking is intentional, structured, and high leverage. Clarity before action saves time, energy, and regret. Millionaires create space to think when others stay busy reacting. When was the last time you carved out time to think deeply about a challenge or goal in your life? Set a timer for 5 minutes today. No phone, no noise. Just write out one problem you're facing and 3 possible solutions, no matter how bold. Chapter 4. They track their money. Every dollar has a job. That's a truth millionaires live by. While many people assume the wealthy are carefree with their finances, the reality is the opposite. Wealthy people don't just earn more, they manage better. They know where every dollar comes from and where every dollar goes. Not because they're stingy, but because they understand that clarity breeds control, and control creates freedom. John, a self-made entrepreneur, became a millionaire by age 35. You'd expect fancy cars and wild spending. But when asked what made the biggest difference in his journey, he didn't say networking or risk-taking or even strategy. He said spreadsheets. Every Sunday night, John sat down to review his income, expenses, and investments. Not for hours, but long enough to know his numbers cold, long enough to notice patterns, leaks, and opportunities. That habit alone, he says, kept him from making the kind of blind decisions that sink so many. Money is emotional. That's why most people avoid tracking it. They don't want to see the truth. The Amazon orders, the subscriptions they forgot, the meals that added up. But avoidance never builds wealth. Awareness does. Tracking your money isn't about restriction, it's about alignment. It's about making sure your money is flowing toward what you actually value, not just what feels good in the moment. The good news is you don't need to be a math whiz or a finance expert. You just need a method. Some use apps like Enab, Mint, or Monarch. Others use simple spreadsheets. The tool doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Once a week. Same time. Same process. You're not doing accounting. You're doing ownership. You're facing your financial reality because that's the only way to shape your financial future. Millionaires review their net worth regularly, not because they're obsessed with status, but because they're obsessed with growth. They want to know if what they're doing is working. They want to measure progress. They want to adapt. And they know that what gets measured gets improved. You can't optimize what you ignore. You can't master what you avoid. Start small. Review your transactions from the last 7 days. Where did your money go? How much of it was intentional? How much of it surprised you? Then set a simple goal. Track spending daily for the next week. That's it. No judgment, just data. Because once you start seeing your habits clearly, you can start changing them powerfully. This habit isn't about becoming frugal for the sake of it. It's about moving from reactive spending to proactive decision-making. It's about building the kind of awareness that keeps you from overdrawing your energy chasing financial fires. When you know your numbers, you move through the world with confidence. You say yes with clarity. You say no with strength. You stop hoping things work out and start making sure they do. Tracking your money isn't a millionaire habit because it's fancy. It's a millionaire habit because it works. It builds discipline. It builds discernment. And over time, it builds wealth. Quietly. Steadily. Unfailingly. If you want to change your financial destiny, start by changing your financial awareness. That change starts today, with your next dollar. Millionaires know where their money goes, down to the dollar. Tracking builds awareness, and awareness builds control. You don't have to be perfect, just consistent. When was the last time you reviewed your spending line by line? What surprised you? Open your bank app and review your last 5 purchases. Were they intentional? If not, why not? Chapter 5. They take small risks. In 1975, a young man dropped out of Harvard to pursue an idea that felt equal parts exciting and foolish. His name was Bill Gates. At the time, starting a software company wasn't cool, it was confusing. Computers were clunky, expensive, and seen as a niche interest. But Gates wasn't gambling his future on a wild leap. He was taking a calculated risk. A small one, based on a growing belief that personal computing would eventually become a norm. He didn't know exactly how big it would get, but he didn't need to. He just needed to act on the edge of discomfort. That's the difference between recklessness and risk-taking. Most people wait for guarantees. Millionaires move when there's just enough clarity. Not certainty, clarity. They've trained themselves to take action before the path is fully paved. Not in huge, dramatic ways, but in small, steady, strategic ones. A cold email. A new hire. A product test. A pitch that might fail. These tiny bets stack up, and over time, they create momentum that others mistake for luck. The truth is, most people don't fail because they took risks. They fail because they avoid them. They stayed in jobs they hated, relationships that drained them, and routines that dulled their ambition, all in the name of safety. But millionaires don't chase comfort. They chase growth, and growth lives just outside the zone of easy and familiar. This doesn't mean you should throw caution to the wind, quite the opposite. The richest people often take the smallest steps, but they take them consistently and consciously. They ask, what's one move I can make today that nudges me toward discomfort in a productive way? They don't confuse risk with recklessness. They calculate. They prepare. And then they leap. You can do the same. Identify one area of your life right now where fear is holding you back. A conversation you've been avoiding. A business idea you keep shelving. A skill you've delayed learning. Now zoom in. What's the smallest version of movement you could take? Not the full leap, just the first inch. That's where the habit begins. Not in bravery, but in action. Because the more you move into risk, the more comfortable you become with uncertainty, and the more you realize it was never as scary as it seemed. Every bold move begins as a quiet decision. Send the email. Ask the question. Offer the service. Say yes to the thing that makes your heart race a little. Say no to the one that keeps you stuck. Millionaires don't wake up fearless. They wake up practiced. They've built a tolerance for risk by embracing it in small, daily doses. If you only make moves when you're sure of the outcome, you're limiting your growth to the size of your comfort zone. Wealth doesn't live there. Innovation doesn't live there, and neither does the life you actually want. The difference between the person who changes their world and the one who watches from the sidelines isn't talent or timing. It's risk tolerance. It's action. You won't win every time. But if you're taking smart risks consistently, you don't have to. Some bets will fail. Some doors will close, but one of them, the right one, might change everything. The only way to find it is to keep stepping forward. Millionaires train their risk tolerance through small, bold actions. Risk is not recklessness, it's practiced discomfort. Progress happens just outside the comfort zone. What's one small, uncomfortable action you've been avoiding, and why? Choose one calculated risk you can take today, no matter how small, then take it before the day ends. Chapter 6. They read purposefully. When Elon Musk was asked how he learned to build rockets, his answer was simple. I read books. Not textbooks, not just technical manuals. All kinds, biographies, science fiction, engineering guides. He consumed knowledge like oxygen. And while Musk is an extreme case, his habit is anything but unique. Nearly every self-made millionaire shares a common practice. They read every day. But not just for entertainment. They read with purpose. Reading isn't about checking a box or impressing others with what's on your shelf. It's about expanding the way you think. Millionaires treat reading like mental weightlifting. It's how they build new ideas, challenge assumptions, and stay sharp in a world that rewards stagnation with mediocrity. They're not just looking for facts, they're looking for insight. And more importantly, they're looking to apply that insight to their lives and businesses. The average millionaire reads 2 or more books per month, not because they have more free time, but because they make the time. They understand that learning is leverage. Every book contains a perspective they haven't lived, a strategy they haven't tried, a lesson someone else paid for that they don't have to. Why guess when you can study? Why repeat mistakes when you can borrow wisdom? The key isn't volume, it's intentionality. Millionaires don't binge read random material. They curate. If they're building a company, they study leadership, systems, and negotiation. If they're working on themselves, they dive into mindset, habits, and psychology. If they want to understand an industry, they read its history, follow its voices, and study its outliers. Every book is a conversation with someone smarter, more experienced, or uniquely positioned to teach them something new. But reading without reflection is just passive consumption. The wealthy build systems around their reading. They highlight, they take notes, they pause to ask, how does this apply to me? What idea stands out? What action does this suggest? It doesn't take hours. It takes intention. A single idea from a good book can spark a breakthrough, but only if you engage with it deeply enough to let it land. You don't need to read faster, you need to read smarter. Pick one book this month that solves a problem you're facing right now. Set aside 10 minutes a day. Just 10. That's all it takes to build momentum. Keep a notebook nearby. Jot down one insight each time you read. Apply one of those insights before the week is out. This isn't academic, it's practical. It's about becoming a better thinker, a better leader, a better version of yourself through a consistent stream of learning. Millionaires don't stop reading once they're successful. They read because they want to stay successful. They're not just investing money, they're investing attention. Every page is a seed. Not every seed grows, but some will, and over time, that growth compounds. The books you read shape the questions you ask, the decisions you make, and the life you build. In a world obsessed with quick tips and social snippets, reading is a rebel move. It says you value depth over speed, mastery over noise, learning over performing. It's not glamorous, But it's powerful, and it's yours for the taking. Millionaires read with intention, not for volume, but for insight. Every book is a potential lever for action and clarity. Consistent reading compounds into strategic advantage. What's one area of your life or business where reading could unlock a new level of growth? Choose one book aligned with your current goals. Commit to reading 10 minutes a day for the next week. Chapter 7. They prioritize relationships. In 2010, a little-known entrepreneur named Sarah Blakely was introduced to Richard Branson at a charity event. She didn't pitch him a product or ask for an investment, she asked about his biggest failure. That question turned into a conversation, which led to a mentorship, which opened doors that would help her grow Spanx into a billion-dollar brand. Not because she had the best connections, but because she nurtured them intentionally. Millionaires know that relationships aren't just useful, they're foundational. Wealth doesn't grow in isolation. While the average person builds their life around tasks and transactions, the wealthy build it around people. They understand that every opportunity, idea, and breakthrough comes through a person, a mentor, a partner, a collaborator, a connector. So they treat relationships like assets, not afterthoughts. They don't wait for their network to build itself, they cultivate it daily. This doesn't mean collecting business cards or spamming LinkedIn. It means showing up with generosity, curiosity, and intention. Millionaires invest time in listening, learning, and adding value long before they ask for anything in return. They remember birthdays. They follow up. They introduce people without expecting a favor back. And most importantly, they're consistent, because trust isn't built in big gestures, it's built in small, repeated acts of respect and care. One reason most people don't prioritize relationships is because they assume they don't have time. But the wealthy know that a 5-minute check-in can yield more opportunity than 5 hours of solo effort. A short call to ask, "How can I support you?" builds more goodwill than any sales pitch. Relationships don't require huge time blocks. They require presence. A handwritten thank you note, a message saying, "Saw this and thought of you," a quick video to say congratulations. These small moves stack up, and they separate those who are remembered from those who are forgotten. Building relationships doesn't mean networking 24/7. It means being intentional with the people already around you, your colleagues, your clients, your mentors, your peers. It means asking better questions, listening longer, offering help without keeping score. The wealthiest people treat every conversation as a potential turning point, not in a manipulative way, but with reverence, because they understand that people create leverage. Relationships also fuel emotional resilience. When the pressure rises or failure hits, it's not spreadsheets or strategy that saves you, it's the people in your corner. A strong network is more than opportunity, it's support, insight, accountability, and growth. Millionaires don't just build wealth with people, they weather storms with them. And that stability is part of what allows them to take bigger swings. You don't need a massive social circle. You need a meaningful one. A few trusted voices, a handful of encouragers, a couple of wise guides, and then you need to be that person for others, to be the one who celebrates, the one who connects, the one who shows up. Because relationships don't just shape what you achieve, they shape who you become. In the end, no one builds an empire alone. Behind every win is a web of people who contributed, challenged, and championed the person at the top. Millionaires know that. That's why they plant seeds every day, in conversations, in notes, in actions that compound into trust over time. Wealth is relational. Every major opportunity involves people. Millionaires nurture their network daily with small, intentional gestures. The most valuable connections are built with generosity and consistency. Who in your life deserves a check-in, thank you, or offer of support today? Reach out to one person you respect, no agenda, just a note of gratitude, encouragement, or connection. Chapter 8. They review their goals. On January 1st, most people set goals and then forget them by February. Millionaires don't operate like that. They don't treat goals like once-a-year declarations. They treat them like daily conversations. They check in, revise, realign, and recommit constantly. Their goals aren't buried in a notebook or locked in a vision board. They live front and center, integrated into their routines, driving their decisions every single day. Steve, a real estate investor who went from broke to millionaire in under a decade, credits one habit above all others: reviewing his goals every morning. 5 minutes. That's it. He writes them down again by hand, not to manifest magic, but to stay focused. If I forget where I'm headed, he says, I drift, and drift is expensive. Most people don't fail because they lack ambition, they fail because they lose sight of it. Millionaires know that attention fuels achievement. Whatever you see most often shapes what you pursue. Reviewing goals isn't about pressure, it's about perspective. It allows you to reconnect with what matters before the day runs away from you. It keeps you from getting hijacked by other people's priorities. And just as importantly, it reminds you why you're working. The wealthy use this habit not to chase more blindly, but to chase what aligns deeply. They ask, is this still the right goal? If yes, they double down. If not, they adjust. Flexibility is strength, not weakness, when rooted in clarity. But here's what's key: they don't just review outcomes, they review progress. Big goals take time, and progress can feel invisible. So millionaires celebrate micro wins. They track what moved forward, even if just 1 inch. That momentum fuels motivation. Instead of always feeling behind, they feel engaged, encouraged, empowered. They build the habit of winning daily, not waiting for some distant finish line. You don't need to set 50 goals. In fact, don't. Start with 3. 1 financial, 1 personal, 1 relational, or spiritual. Write them somewhere you'll see them daily, on your mirror, your phone background, a sticky note on your laptop. Then ask, what's one thing I can do today to move this forward? Small steps are not just acceptable, they're essential, because consistency outperforms intensity every time. Reviewing your goals can take many forms. You can rewrite them. You can journal about your progress. You can speak them out loud during a morning walk. The format doesn't matter as much as the frequency. This is about intention, not perfection. You'll have days where nothing moves. That's okay. The point is that you stay in relationship with your vision. You keep it warm. You keep it alive. Millionaires don't hope their goals happen. They lead them. They revisit, rework, and realign daily, not because they're obsessed, but because they're aware. They know that drifting leads to regret, and staying connected leads to impact. If you want a life that reflects your vision has to stay visible. That's the heart of this habit. Not chasing endlessly, but living in clarity. Choosing each day with purpose, and moving, however slowly, toward what truly matters. Millionaires review their goals daily to stay aligned and focused. Regular reflection prevents drift and fuels small, consistent progress. Progress isn't always big, it's often measured in clarity and momentum. Are your current actions aligned with the goals you claim to care about? Write down your top 3 goals. Place them somewhere visible and review them each morning this week. Chapter 9. They move their bodies. In the early 2000s, Richard Branson was asked what his #1 productivity hack was. His answer surprised everyone: workout, not a morning meeting. Not a new app, exercise. He claimed it gave him an extra 4 hours of productivity every day. That wasn't just a clever soundbite, it was a truth echoed across boardrooms, studios, and startups. The wealthiest people in the world prioritize physical movement not for vanity, but for vitality. Movement is more than fitness. It's focus. It's energy. It's clarity. Millionaires know that their body isn't separate from their brain, it's the support system. When your body feels strong, your mind thinks sharper. When you move, your mood lifts, your stress drops, your capacity to solve problems expands. They don't move because they have extra time. They move because it gives them back time and sharper thinking and steadier energy. You don't need to train like an athlete. In fact, most millionaires don't. What they do is move daily: a brisk walk, a 20-minute hit-it session, yoga, strength training, tennis. It doesn't have to be intense, but it has to be consistent. It's not about burning calories, it's about building momentum. They treat movement like a keystone habit, one that positively impacts everything else. When you start the day with movement, you prime your body and mind for action. It signals to yourself that you're in control, that you're someone who follows through, that you make deposits in your health bank before withdrawals are needed. Millionaires don't outsource this. Even if they have personal trainers, they show up. They carve the time. They protect it like they would a business meeting, because it is one. It's a meeting with their future self. Science backs this up. Regular movement boosts memory, reduces anxiety, sharpens decision-making, and improves sleep. It helps regulate your mood and strengthens your immune system. These benefits aren't just for gym enthusiasts, they're for anyone who wants to operate at their best, and millionaires don't leave that edge on the table. If exercise feels overwhelming, shrink it down. 5 minutes of stretching, a 10-minute walk, a few bodyweight squats between meetings. What matters most is that you build the identity. I'm someone who moves daily. That shift alone can ripple into how you eat, how you work, how you show up. You don't need the perfect routine, you need a repeatable one. There's also a hidden benefit. Many of the world's wealthiest say their best ideas come during movement. Not at a desk, not in a meeting, but while walking, running, cycling. Motion creates space for thought. It gets you out of your head and into your body, where clarity often lives. If you've ever walked away from a problem and returned with the answer, you've felt it. Millionaires tap into that on purpose. In the end, movement isn't just about health, it's about capacity. It's about how well you can handle pressure, lead others, and sustain your momentum. Wealth requires stamina, and stamina is built one workout, one walk, one rep at a time. The goal isn't to get ripped, it's to get ready for the day, for the challenges, for the opportunities coming your way. Millionaires know this. When you take care of your body takes care of your future. Millionaires move daily, not to look good, but to think, feel, and perform better. Movement boosts energy, clarity, and long-term resilience. Small, consistent activity beats occasional intensity. What form of movement energizes you most, and how can you make it a daily non-negotiable? Schedule 10 minutes of intentional movement tomorrow. Then protect it like your most important meeting. Chapter 10. They wake up early. In a 2017 interview, Apple CEO Tim Cook shared that he wakes up at 3:45 a.m. every day. Not because he loves mornings, but because he values control. I like to get a head start, he said. That head start gives him quiet space to read customer emails, work out, and plan his day before the flood of demands begins. He's not alone. Across industries, high performers, CEOs, founders, creatives, routinely start their days before sunrise. It's not a badge of honor, it's a strategic advantage. Waking up early isn't about being a morning person, it's about owning your time before the world claims it. Most people wake up reactive. The alarm goes off, and the day starts running them. They check their phone, respond to messages, rush through routines, and by 9 a.m. they're already behind. Millionaires flip that script. They wake up early not because they have to, but because it gives them space to think, move, and prepare on their terms. The early morning hours are free from noise, both literal and mental. There are no meetings, no emails, no pressure to perform. Just silence. That silence is fertile ground for reflection, strategy, and creativity. Whether it's reviewing goals, reading, journaling, or exercising, that first hour becomes a launchpad. It's where focus is sharpest, willpower is strongest, and distractions are minimal. Millionaires use it to get aligned, so the rest of the day follows their priorities, not everyone else's. The point isn't to wake up at 4 a.m., the point is to wake up before you have to. Even 30 minutes of buffer can be a game changer. It gives you space to decide how you want the day to go instead of reacting to how it starts. That decision, how you begin, is a keystone habit. It shapes mood, mindset, and momentum. If the first thing you do each day is invest in yourself, it sets a tone of ownership and clarity that carries through everything else. Of course, it's not just about waking up early, it's about using that time wisely. Millionaires aren't scrolling Twitter at dawn, they have rituals. Some read, some meditate, some plan the day with pen and paper. Others hit the gym or take a walk. The habit is less about what you do and more about why you're doing it, to begin your day with intention and alignment. If this feels impossible, start small. Set your alarm 15 minutes earlier tomorrow. Use that time for something that fills your tank. No screens, no noise, just presence. Over time, you can build on it. Wake up earlier, stretch longer, reflect deeper. But it begins with that first conscious choice, to reclaim the start of your day. Waking up early doesn't guarantee success, but it does give you an edge. It grants you time that most people claim they don't have. It builds discipline, strengthens confidence, and trains you to lead your life proactively. The world moves fast. If you want to lead it, or even just stay ahead of it, you need a head start. Millionaires don't control everything, but they do control how they begin, and that beginning often makes all the difference. Waking up early gives you quiet, focused time before the world's demands begin. Early risers start the day with clarity, not chaos. It's not about the hour, it's about owning your morning with intention. How would your mindset or productivity shift if you gave yourself the first hour of each day? Set your alarm 15 minutes earlier tomorrow. Use that time for a focused, screen-free morning ritual. Chapter 11. They reflect before bed. At the end of each day, Benjamin Franklin asked himself one question: what good have I done today? It was simple, but powerful. That one reflection anchored his evenings, giving structure to his thoughts and intention to his next steps. Centuries later, high achievers still end their days the same way, not with noise, but with reflection. Not with guilt, but with growth. Millionaires don't just plan their mornings, they close their nights with purpose. Most people end the day by collapsing into bed or scrolling through social media until sleep wins, and their minds stay noisy, their thoughts unfinished. The day ends in a blur. But the wealthy live differently. They treat nighttime as a strategic checkpoint, not a shutdown. It's their moment to pause, review, and adjust, not to overthink, but to integrate. They know that clarity comes not just from moving forward, but from looking back with honesty. Reflection isn't about perfection, it's about pattern recognition. What worked today? What didn't? What triggered stress? What sparked energy? It's in these answers that growth lives. When you look at your actions with curiosity instead of criticism, you create space for learning. You notice habits. You spot tendencies. You make invisible behaviors visible, and that awareness makes change possible. Millionaires often keep a simple evening ritual. Some write in a journal. Others ask 3 quick questions. What did I accomplish? What did I learn? What will I do differently tomorrow? The power isn't in the format, it's in the consistency. Just 5 minutes of reflection can shift your mental state from reactive to intentional. It helps you release the day, reset your thoughts, and rest without mental clutter. Gratitude is often part of this ritual, not because it's trendy, but because it's effective. The wealthiest people aren't just ambitious, they're grateful. They train their minds to notice wins, not just gaps, to recognize progress, not just pressure. That mindset doesn't happen by accident. It's built in the quiet moments before bed, when you choose to focus on what went right instead of what went wrong. Reflection also creates feedback loops. If you're tracking your goals in the morning, evening reflection is where you assess your alignment. Did your actions today reflect your priorities? Did you spend your time where it mattered most? If not, no shame, just information. You wake up tomorrow with a chance to course correct, and you do so faster because you caught the misalignment early. This habit compounds. It builds self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Over time, it deepens your confidence, not because every day is perfect, but because you know how to extract wisdom from each one. You become the kind of person who learns from experience instead of repeating it unconsciously. To start, choose one question to ask yourself each night. Keep a notebook beside your bed. Write a few lines. Don't aim for a masterpiece. Aim for truth. What did you learn today? What's one thing you're proud of? What's one thing you'll do better tomorrow? If you prefer voice notes, record them. The medium doesn't matter. What matters is making space, making time, making meaning. Millionaires don't end their days by accident, they end them with reflection, with gratitude, with a plan. And in that simple, powerful habit, they build not just wealth, but wisdom. Evening reflection creates self-awareness and alignment. A short nightly review builds clarity, confidence, and gratitude. Millionaires don't just chase progress, they extract lessons from each day. If you review today honestly, what would you celebrate, and what would you tweak? Tonight, write down one win, one lesson, and one small improvement for tomorrow. Keep it going for 7 days. Take care and be well.